Hello YouTube, hello party people. Today I wanted to talk about one of the traps that you can fall into with ADHD. Some of you may be existing in it right now, some of you may have fallen into it in the past and potentially could fall into it again in the future. So I just want to make you clear of this pitfall so that it doesn't happen to you, okay? So when you have ADHD, there's a high chance that as a child people called you bright, or they said that you were, a smart kid. And it could be the case that you have a lot of really good ideas. And it's awesome that you have a lot of these great ideas, but the problem is actually executing, is actually getting things done. The execution part. And we have an executive dysfunction. So that makes sense. But the problem is that a lot of people go around basically thinking to themselves, like, I'm pretty smart. And for some of you, it's like a hell. Like, there's some people who just kind of accept it and it doesn't really make sense. But then there's other people where it's like they're aware of it and it's like a hell. Where it's like, I know I'm smart. Why am I not doing more stuff? Some people will cope with this and, watch these videos about being ambitious but lazy. Yeah, there's no such thing. Like, that's the hard truth. There's no such thing. If you were actually intelligent enough and ambitious enough to get out of your situation, whatever situation you may be in, you would have. Which means that there's something inherently not going on that needs to go on in your noggin. Like, you don't have some sort of information that you need to actually change from this being quote unquote like intelligent or like smart or bright into actually getting more done, into actually getting things done. And so the first step here is, if you have this quote unquote intelligence and you're so smart, like, it's actually really simple, but it's easy to overlook. Is the problem is the execution. And if you just actually tackle that problem, then you'll be good. But obviously you need to execute in order to tackle this problem. Something I really want to get across in this video, because I was like this, is you cannot just consume more and more and more and more informational content. And it might feel like growth, but I guarantee that you're basically just going to forget all of this. Like, it's going to be basically meaningless to you, and just like in one ear and out the other. It might actually help you grow internally in some aspect, but the amount of productivity that this produces after a time is almost like nothing. Like, you're basically just wasting your life if you're constantly consuming philosophical content that you are telling yourself is growing you, right? Or that you're telling yourself like you're feeding your mind. It's not helping. It's not helping. And the reason why is because wisdom is doing. In one of my videos, we talked about this. Here, I'll just draw it. So, wisdom, and I do recommend that you get a notebook out because it'll make this information more sticky. And that's another thing, is that if you're doing this and you're like consuming a ton of content and you're not even taking notes, like, but we'll get back into that. But you need to be. So, wisdom is knowledge, okay? We know that. Plus execution. So wisdom is knowledge plus execution. And what this actually equals, like this whole thing, like what wisdom is also equal to, is skill. And you could see execution as practice or starting the thing. So it's the skill of starting the thing and the skill of practicing over and over and over. And it's the skill of forging a workflow. Okay? Once you have a workflow, it's done. Like, a workflow is skill. Like, once you create the workflow for something, you know how to do it. It's done. It's not okay, I guess it's not necessarily skill, but it's at least skill that's reproducible on some level. Where if you have this specific setup, then you will be skilled, right? And wisdom is just the skill of living life. So how good you are at living life, that's basically how wise you are. And if you're in this state of, thinking to yourself like, oh, I'm gonna make millions one day, or I'm gonna like get a lot done one day and it's gonna be great. Like, just you wait until I have a little bit more money. Just you wait until I find that one video that like cracks the code or something. And it's like, well, maybe this video is that for you, but it's not. It's just not how it works. Like, nobody's gonna, whatever you're waiting on is literally gonna never happen. It's gonna take years, and then like some weird excuse is gonna come up, and it's just not gonna work. Like whatever you've been waiting on for months or years, and you're just gonna look back at your life and be so depressed because you could have just done so much more. Which is why I recommend that you just start executing now and stop consuming content and stop like lying to yourself, right? And I know it's hard because we have ADHD. It's extremely easy to get addicted to fast, easy dopamine. But it's just the way it is. Like this day is never coming, and like $1,000 to get started on your business is not going to drop out of the sky. You have to start from nothing. You have to start from zero. It's just how it is. And there's no clever trick that you can work out to get somewhere better. I know you're intelligent and that if you really, really tried, you probably could figure this out. But it's just like a hard-baked rule into reality. There is no AI slop that you can make that's going to actually work, at least in as much as you want it to work. And maybe maybe that could be like a starting point for you, but personally, I'd see that as a waste of time. But really, it's just like your outputs are determined by your input. And if you just are constantly consuming informational content and, quote unquote, like sharpening your mind, well, I'm sorry, but you're not. Because if you were actually sharpening your mind, you would be doing more. Because you would actually understand that you need to do more to actually get things done. And the reason that you're like this is because of something called resistance. And this is armchair philosophy is what we call this. But the reason that you're like this is because of resistance. It's something called resistance. And this resistance, the way you can think about it is it's the mirror version of you that doesn't want to change. That's the way you can think about it. And so you are constantly in a fight to the death with this guy every single day. Not really the death, because I mean he's actually trying to protect you, but he's trying to protect you from pain, he's trying to protect you from failure, he's trying to protect you from all these painful and hurtful things. Like success and growth are an inherently painful process. You can't build muscle without breaking it first, right? And you can't build intelligence without hurting your mind first. Which is another thing I want to touch on in this video, is you need to have good cognitive hygiene. Like just constantly consuming content like this is not good cognitive hygiene. If you actually want to learn things, we learn in networks and connections, which is why school is really bad. It basically just teaches you linearly, which is a horrible way to teach people. It's really, really dumb. Doesn't work very well anyways. You need to actually like have mental stress and do something called encoding, which is where you're trying to connect seemingly unrelated ideas. And you might do this to a degree. Like you might actually be quite skilled at this, but there are better ways to do it than just like chewing on it in your noggin. Things like mind mapping, okay? Like drawing out a mind map, actually studying, like writing down notes. So my recommendation for you is if you actually value your intelligence and if you actually want to be wise and you want to get ahead in life, like what you need to do is you need to actually study. And obviously, like you've lived your life up until now, or this whole time, basically thinking like, oh, I don't need to study because I'm just smart enough to like read and then I got it. But it's like that information doesn't actually stick. Like, yeah, you were able to do this in school, but in the real life, like basically what's happening is a neurotypical may not have this special ability that you have. Some of them might, but most of them wouldn't. And so what they've done, and this is similar to like certain things that you do with ADHD, where it's like you have certain challenges. Basically, if you have something easy, it's going to be hard on the back end. And if you have something hard on the front end, it's going to be easier on the back end. And I'll show this. So This neurotypical, he's not like you. He can't just like pick up a new talent like almost immediately. So what he has to do is he has to make a system to study, and he has to put in the work and the hours, and he has to basically practice this cognitive stress of learning, right? Whereas you just kind of can just like, oh yeah, I just pick it up. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty intelligent. I get it. It's like whatever. But because this neurotypical spends this time doing this, ooh, I have no idea what happened there. He's gone. He transcended. Okay, so. And that's what I'm getting at is like because he spent the time and effort of actually like working on this for a long time and making all these like brain connections and like actually putting in the work every day, he winds up being an expert on the topic, and you just kind of think you're an expert and you're not really an expert. Like your knowledge is very shallow compared to this guy's, and it's because he's lived it and he's like consumed and chewed on this information for a very long time. And then he's one of the people who's telling you like, dude, you're so smart. Like, why can't you, like, what's going on? And then you're like, I don't know, man. Oh my gosh, this neurotypical just wants to like transcend reality. That's interesting. I don't know what's going on there. You could be like that too. You could transcend. So, but you'd have to take things seriously enough, and you have to be humble enough to understand that like, yes, you do need to study. Yes, you cannot just consume content all day and call it good. And yes, you need to actually execute. And executing is the only thing that matters. Genuinely, it's the only thing that matters. Because if it did not go from inside your head, out into your fingertips, out into the world, it didn't happen. It wasn't real. It literally was not real. It was a fantasy. And that's kind of what I want to get across, is if you're this person who's telling yourself you're smart enough and you're going to like make it big one day and you don't have results right now, then you're lying to yourself and you're living in a fantasy. And I've been there, okay? I've been there. And the only thing that you can do is swallow your pride, and it's going to hurt. But then you can actually move forward. So it's like, okay, got it, understood. How do I actually move forward? How do I beat this resistance guy? Well, first, just understanding what it is and labeling it is going to help you a lot. So he's anything that stops you from executing. Any excuse at all. Literally any excuse. Because, it may be ideal for you to do something and you want to do it in the ideal way, but you can also just do a crappy job and get it done today. And doing a crappy job and getting it done today is infinitely more valuable than waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for whatever condition you were waiting on. Like, do not let perfect be the enemy of done. Okay? And you got to be economical about this. Like, the way you can think about it is every time you actually finish a task, it's like buying an asset, essentially. And it's like you want it done rather than perfect. Because if you just get enough things done over a short enough period of time, or long enough period of time, rather, then these are like compounding. Like, this creates momentum, this creates a compounding skill, and all success is exponential. Like, for every little task in life, the success is exponential. It starts hard, it takes a long time, and then all of a sudden it's like overnight it blows up. Like, this is the pattern that most millionaires have experienced, is that they've worked for like 7, 10, 18, 20 years, and then almost like overnight it just exploded, whatever they were trying to do. And you have to spend all this time in this part just growing, and it hurts. It's painful to grow, right? And so you need to be willing to accept that growth is painful, and you need to love growth, and you need to actually love the pain of growth. You need to be competitive, and you need to see this growth as like the ultimate goal in your life. And it's going to hurt. It's just going to hurt. And you have to accept pain. You can't be afraid of pain. You need to actually identify where is the quote unquote, where's the good pain? And then you need to basically seek that out constantly. And so it sucks, man, but you basically, like, you're just going to have to live a hard life if you want good things to come from your life. That's how it is. And you need to be mature. But obviously your ADHD gets in the way of that. So I'm going to give you one strat to fix this problem, the resistance problem that we're struggling with. And then my other technique would be, my advice would just be keep coming back to my videos, because I basically teach people specifically how to overcome these sorts of things with ADHD, like how to actually get there when you have ADHD, because it's a different process than the neurotypical goes through, because just everything is completely different, right? So what you can do is, well, just understanding that it's outside of you is immensely helpful. And then I have this one weird trick that doctors don't want you to know. If you basically just like shut off your brain and relax your body and your mind completely, if you don't want to do something, like if you're feeling resistance, like get up in your face and it's like, nope, you're not doing that. You can just relax, and then you can basically envision yourself in your mind getting up and going and doing whatever task it is you're working on. And you could do this in the middle of a workflow too when you're feeling resistance, but basically you visualize it. And if you have I think it's called alexithymia, where you can't quite visualize things, just imagine it. You know, I know you can still get like this sort of general feel. So just in whatever way, imagine it. And then what you can do is you can add a little bit of emotional urgency every time. And just keep this like watching yourself doing this task on repeat, or like getting up and going to do the task on repeat. And then what's going to happen is, after enough time of doing this, it shouldn't take very long, you will literally just get up and go do the task. People are animated by willpower and momentum. And when you have ADHD, because of how the dopamine imbalance and the stimulation thing works, is like being in pain and suffering is stimulating too. So you will just sit there because it's stimulating and your brain wants it. So you really only have two options every day. You can either have an upward spiral or you can have a downward spiral. And if you're in the middle of a downward spiral, it's not too late. It's never too late to turn it back into an upward spiral. It's a little bit harder. You have to overcome the resistance, but you can do it. I hope that helped you. One thing that can help a lot with overcoming these sorts of things and actually moving forward in life when you have ADHD is just having somebody to help you through. Like, it's a fundamental thing that if you want to get through any skill quicker, if you want to hit that exponential point faster, it's easier if you have someone there helping you. You can buy my coaching, mentorship. It's $50 per session. This is entirely what I teach about, is how to be productive, how to actually get things done, how to actually move forward and live a fulfilling life when you have ADHD specifically. And then if you're interested in making the switch to Linux, we can do that as well. I know how to actually make Linux productive and make it painless to switch. I can speed up that process and make it painless for you. So if you're kind of sick of companies, spying on you and stealing all your data, and you're just kind of disgusted with that, and you actually want to change, and you actually want a system that belongs to you, then I can help you do that as well. That's $100 a session. If you thought this was helpful, go ahead, like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.